The Voyage of Discovery, a case study of Moraudo Autos. This video will explain Moraudo Autos' sustainability initiative and how it evolved once they partnered with the Compression Institute. Moraudo Autos is a small automaker with around 4,200 employees and one plant in Hallward, Ohio. They produce 3 vehicles, including their new R4 hybrid, with model sales ranging from 21 to 48,000. Moraudo Autos' sustainability initiative was launched by 3 people. CEO Derek Johnson wants to green the company, and he sees the production of hybrid vehicles as the answer. Jason Maitre, a senior industrial engineer, is a manufacturing lead for Moraudo's first hybrid vehicle. And Serena Larson, a senior marketing associate, has been the biggest advocate for taking a triple bottom line approach to sustainability. Moraudo Autos publicly announced their sustainability initiative when they introduced a hybrid version of the R4. Serena used the success of the R4 hybrid as the focus of their first annual sustainability report. Focusing on the triple bottom line, they were able to report increased sales, higher stock price, the creation of hundreds of new jobs, the donation of dozens of hybrid vehicles to charities and nonprofits, an increase in employee volunteering and donations, and an increase in the overall miles per gallon of their vehicles, led by the new R4 hybrid. And they had several other successful green initiatives, such as a company-wide recycling program. So they are looking pretty good from a triple bottom line perspective. But then, an oil rig exploded in the Gulf of Mexico, and suddenly the global supply of crude oil was disrupted, and the price per barrel began to rise with no end in sight. And gas prices followed. But the R4 hybrid gets 45 miles per gallon, so this should be a good thing for Moraudo Autos, right? Not entirely. They too have to deal with the increased cost of oil and gas, and they're hurting most from the rising cost of vehicle delivery, rising costs of supplies, and an increase in the cost of operating their plant. And to make things even tougher, consumers now had a lot more choices with improved gas mileage. Moraudo's sales and stock prices were dropping. It was around this time when Mr. Johnson met Robert Hall, Doc, author of the book Compression and a founder of the Compression Institute. Doc explained that compression was the art and science of improving quality of life while greatly reducing resource use and eliminating toxins, doing better with less. And the application of compression thinking was an ongoing process the Institute refers to as the Voyage of Discovery. Society must discover ways to address the complex challenges we all face. Organizations need to discover new ways of doing business in order to survive and thrive amidst these challenges. And individuals must discover new ways of thinking, or change will not happen. Doc explained how the Compression Institute focuses on the voyage of individuals and organizations. The Institute does this by providing peer-to-peer action learning groups led by a Compression Institute guide, workshops for learning about specific topics such as life cycle analysis, and a growing library of material for individual learning, including articles, website links, videos, and much more. Derek Johnson was ready to start Moraudo Autos on their voyage of discovery. To start, the sustainability team added Lisa Jenkins, Senior IT Associate, and Steve Gonzalez, the Vice President of Human Resources. Derek Johnson joined an action learning group with high-level leaders from manufacturing companies in Hallward, Ohio, where Moraudo Autos was headquartered. Since action learning groups can exist anywhere there's interest, the Institute acts as the hub by collecting and distributing information from groups across the country, even the world. And the Institute continually works with our partner organizations to provide the services your organization needs. As a group member, Mr. Johnson had access to all shared materials. One of the first things discussed in the Action Learning Group was the need to establish a baseline footprint of resource use, and he thought of Lisa Jenkins, Senior IT Associate, to look into this topic. Lisa found resources on the Compression Institute website to help her with establishing a rough footprint for the Hallward plant. Moraudo Autos was on their way. Within the first couple of months, Mr. Johnson was hearing a lot about life cycle analysis, and he wanted to learn more. It just happens that an organization from an action learning group had recently uploaded a case study of their experience implementing life cycle analysis, and Mr. Johnson had immediate access to the study. He passed it on to Jason Maitre and asked him how to find out how they could get started. Jason turned to the Compression Institute Library of Materials and found a great webinar, and he also decided to sign up for an upcoming LCA workshop. He was soon realizing that Moraudo Autos had placed too much emphasis on increasing miles per gallon and wasn't seeing the bigger picture. He turned to the Compression Institute partners to help set up a pilot LCA for the R4 hybrid. And it wasn't long before he was able to get rough LCA metrics for the R4 hybrid. Derek Johnson continued working with his Action Learning Group, and after several months, the concepts of vigorous learning organization began to make sense. So he appointed leads for each of the areas and empowered them to form teams and dig deeper. By learning about empowering people, he was already working on becoming a better servant leader. Despite continued improvements at Moraudo Autos, they could not control the external environment, and rising cost of living led to increased foreclosures, and consumer spending was on the decline. Mr. Johnson had to find ways for Moraudo Autos to do better with less. As it turns out, Cindy Marshall, president of Vendor Brackets, recently worked with a consulting company to establish lean practices and principles, including systems and tools for rigorous learning. Mr. Johnson arranged for Jason Maitre to tour their facility, learn about their systems and problem-solving methodologies, and review their reporting and archiving practices. Jason then contacted a partner organization and had them help him begin piloting a rigorous learning system. The partner organization helped Moraudo Autos understand the value of lean thinking, including the culture, tools, and techniques used by other successful companies. Derek Johnson and Moraudo Autos continue to transform individuals and the organization, and in the process, they are becoming more adaptive and capable of doing better with less. Over the next several months, his organization shared and listened to experiences from the broader learning network. But their efforts still could not overcome tough external factors, such as rising cost of living, increased unemployment, and stagnant wages. This was around the end of the first year of their Voyage of Discovery. The economic downturn was really hurting Hallward, Ohio, where employees couldn't even afford to buy the cars they made because of rising cost of living. The town was hurting, and auto sales continued to drop. Most companies facing this situation would consider layoffs and pay cuts as a short-term way to improve their financial situation. And the workers didn't want to resort to striking to protest layoffs and pay cuts, but they would if they had to. As the largest employer in town, Moraudo Autos was asked by City Council member Amy Chang if they had any ideas how to get the local economy back on track. Potential layoffs, a looming strike, their involvement with the Compression Institute, and now the town asking them if they could help, had leaders starting to ask deeper questions, such as, what business are we really in? Making cars or providing transportation solutions? How do we really improve quality of life? And how can we effectively deliver value to all stakeholders? And most importantly, how can we improve the quality of life in Hallward, Ohio, and do better with less? While working with the Compression Institute, Moraudo Autos became familiar with design thinking concepts and tools, and they set out to put them into practice. They did this by studying the transportation needs of their employees, using surveys, ethnographic research, and focus groups. What they found was that 40% of vehicles were being used for commuting, driven only about 16,000 miles a year. Another 40% of the vehicles were driven even less, at around 10,000 miles a year. And the remaining vehicle use ranged from anywhere from no use at all to 50,000 miles a year for some commercial vehicles, with all of them averaging around 25 miles per gallon. In addition, most of the time people's personal vehicles sat idle on the street, in their garage, or in a parking lot. They also found that employees were frustrated with way too much of their time and resources devoted to transportation. The sustainability team came up with an idea for a community-based rideshare program that would be a partnership between Moraudo Autos, the City of Hallward, and local businesses, with one common goal: reduce total miles driven in the community. Mr. Johnson would lead a team of community leaders during the pilot rideshare program. TechTrack CEO Brandon Ferrari agreed to design rideshare web applications for phones and laptops and provide data tracking. Wilbur Hill agreed to be a rideshare partner using leased R4 hybrids, and Amy Chang joined to help whenever city approval was needed. After talking and reviewing the Moraudo Auto's employee research, they realized transporting people was only part of the picture. And so they recruited Cindy Jorgensen, VP of Operations for Express Run, and Christy Elliott, the owner of Circle Bike Deliveries. They also asked Andrew Stevens, CEO of Hallward Repairs, to join the team to begin considering the next phase of resource reduction, taking back and retrofitting older Moraudo vehicles. The pilot program wasn't just a public service. Each of the organizations was interested in forming deeper partnerships that would help them succeed in the future. To provide financial advice to the partners and financial support to the project, Veronica Miller, president of Venture Community Bank, was asked to join the team. The 8 team members were on board and formed an action learning group guided by a Compression Institute representative as a basis for learning throughout the project. The pilot program made it easy to participate in car sharing, carpooling, grabbing a ride from a delivery service that was already in the neighborhood, getting your groceries and many other things delivered, and having your kids picked up from soccer practice, and much more. They were learning together and total miles driven were dropping. Moraudo Auto's rideshare program started off by focusing on the community, and they did this by researching the transportation needs of community members and then partnered with several other organizations to design a prototype solution. And in the process, all 7 organizations involved are exploring how this approach will help them financially. The project's been such a success that Moraudo Autos is planning to add another city to the project. The Action Learning Group members behind the rideshare project valued their group experience so much, many of them joined or formed another Action Learning Group, some with an industry focus and others within their own organization. Moraudo Auto's outside-of-the-box thinking was improving quality of life and reducing resource use in their community. To start your voyage of discovery, you can connect with the Compression Institute by attending workshops, joining an action learning group, or doing some learning on your own. Thanks for listening, and please visit our website for more information.